Conspiracy theorists were front and center during the storming of the U.S. Capitol recently. QAnon is the debunked conspiracy theory that holds that former President Trump was going to round up and execute his political opponents for, among other things, eating babies. There are people in Congress who have expressed support for QAnon in the past, including Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, and the conspiracy theory has been promoted and shared by some in local politics as well, including by Parker Mayor Jeff Toborg, who joins me now. Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Kyle, for having me.
The QAnon conspiracy theory is a dangerous hoax that's been linked to violence around the country, including a well-known criminal case in your town of Parker, an attempted child kidnapping. Why would you promote that?
The Parlor post that I posted was the "Where we go one, we go all." I honestly, I didn't realize that that was a part of Q until it was brought to my attention. I did some research. Obviously, I do not support Q. I don't believe in Q. I wasn't aware of all the details behind it. And quite honestly, I find no place in our society for that kind of rhetoric. I was shocked at the little bit when I dug into it to see what was behind it. And I have never believed in stuff like that. And I would never believe in stuff like that.
The lead co-chair of Parker Republicans, Mark Hall, recently set up an online page with the express purpose of threatening the physical safety of public health workers in Colorado, publishing the home addresses of people like health inspectors and epidemiologists and doctors. And Hall said that his goal was clear. He wanted to threaten rank and file public health workers in order to intimidate Democratic Governor Jared Polis into changing COVID-19 restrictions. You were one of the first folks to sign on to that page. Why?
Well, I got a invite from Mark Hall. I didn't look at it, and we talked about that right after it came out. I didn't look at it. I accepted it from Mark Hall. As soon as you called, I looked at it and I immediately left it. And let me just go on record, Kyle, as saying I denounce any violence of this type. People cannot be made to feel unsafe or be made unsafe in their own home simply for the job they do. I have been saying that now since that came out publicly. Doxing is wrong. Giving out personal information for the purpose of causing harm or just intimidation, it is absolutely wrong. And I am so sorry for even being associated with it for the couple hours that I was before you brought it to my attention. I know that there's many that looked into it, that joined it because it was an invite, but got out ASAP. It was wrong. It was wrong to even be a part of that mistakenly.
So this is not the first time that you have aligned yourself with an effort to threaten Coloradans for doing their jobs. You're on the board of directors of a political group called FEC United, and you were present at a rally in October where the founder of FEC United, Joe Oltmann, spoke just minutes before you. You then spoke calling him Parker's favorite son. One of the things he said when he spoke was to threaten journalists who report on the political group that you sit on the board of. Oltmann said, "We're coming for you," talking about journalists. He said, "If you're part of the media and you write something bad about us, better take your byline off of it."
Right. So let me clarify some facts on that. I left FEC in August, September timeframe to run for mayor. I supported FEC in its original intent to help encourage churches, schools, and commerce to be reopened. By the time I was there, I was a mayoral candidate. I was no longer a part of that board.
You were present at the event. You spoke following the founder after he threatened journalists, and you complimented him. And my question is, why do you continue to associate yourself with extremist groups that threaten Coloradans for doing their jobs?
I recall saying that he's a favorite son of Parker because of his business here. But Kyle, I have no affiliations with extremist groups.
You stood up front at that rally and you spoke. FEC United has threatened journalists who report on them.
You would have to look into Joe Oltmann. I don't know any of those reports.
Okay, well, you were at the event, so presumably you heard him threaten journalists before you got up and complimented him.
At that event, you're talking the one that was at Bandimere Speedway?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing a lot of the conversation because there were a lot of candidates up there. And I did because what Joe Oltmann built with FEC at that time to help churches, schools, and commerce reopen, rebuild after this. I am proud to be a part of that.
If I could ask you something else about your work with FEC, where you were on the board and then appeared. So FEC is also building a sort of militia, the United American Defense Force, with the goal to, quote, defend and protect what is ours. As mayor of Parker, would you invite your former group's militia to operate within your town?
No, absolutely not, Kyle. And the Defense Force was a separate part of FEC. The part of FEC I was involved in was on the politics and policy pillar. That's a lot of P's. But, we were interested in finding candidates that would support the Constitution. But moreover, and like the pledge says right in the beginning, that you'll be accountable to go back into your community, listen to your constituents, and vote in the way that they want you to vote.
So I'm trying to get this straight. So you're saying that even though you were on the board of directors of this political group that created a militia, you're not responsible for creating a militia?
Kyle, the piece that I was in had no part of the militia. We were FEC, which stood for Faith, Education, and Commerce. I had no part in the militia, and that's not me denying that was a separate and unequal part of FEC.
On which you were a director, correct?
At the time, I was a director, right, of the politics and policy pillar.
Okay. Do you regret your involvement with that group that formed a sort of militia and threatened journalists?
I wasn't involved with the group that formed the militia and that was ever threatening to journalists. I do support my role, though, in trying to find local candidates and local politicians who would support the reopening of churches, commerce, and education in schools. That I'm very proud of. But I had no insight and no part into I think it was DF or UDF or something like that.
Yep, United American Defense Force. Yep. So Joe Ullman was a prominent supporter of yours during your campaign for mayor.
He endorsed me, yes.
And he was the founder of FEC United, on which you were on the board. How would you describe your relationship with him now?
I haven't talked to Joe since I started to run for mayor. I got an endorsement for him, but he's been off doing he's been off doing some things that are taking a lot of his time. And I haven't talked to him probably 4 or 5 months now.
By things, you mean starting the unfounded conspiracy theories about Dominion voting systems and Antifa, for which he's now being sued?
Well, again, I don't know all the details about that, but against, his information they had about Dominion, bringing that forward, has obviously been time consuming for him.
Okay. Lastly, just to kind of wrap things up, so to tie a thread through all of this from the post that you put up about QAnon that you said you were not really aware of. You've also promoted the baseless conspiracy theories that the election was rigged and questioned the safety of the COVID vaccine, signed on to that group to dox public health workers, which you said you didn't know about, and then you were a board member and spoke at this rally where journalists were threatened by this group that also has a militia arm. Do you believe that your own actions qualify you as an extremist?
No, absolutely not.
Are you extremist curious?
No.
Okay. No. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about our discussion today before we wrap up?
No, Kyle, just to say that, I have obviously the Parler posts, I have apologized. I am, obviously working to be better and do better for the town of Parker and to, really just focus on our economic development and what we need to do here in the town of Parker.
All right. Parker Mayor Jeff Toborg, appreciate you taking time to talk with us today.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it.